What's up guys, this is Yasin, and today is going to be kind of like a special video because we're not going to be going over only hand traps or board breakers, but rather both. So we got the top 55 best going second cards that I could dig up, and we'll be reviewing them in 4 categories. So the ones that I feel like you must main this format, the ones that are definitely a solid option, the ones that are a little too niche, and the ones that I think are just overall not worth playing whatsoever. They shouldn't even be a consideration for you. But yeah, before we go any further, you already know the drill. Smash the like and subscribe button, and also check out my Blue Eyes and Crystron spreadsheet. You can find them on my website, yacineygo.com, very first link at the top of the description box below. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Okay, so first things first, we've got Ultimate Slayer, and this card I think is actually really interesting because it can be both good against Raziel and Malice. Against Malice, you can send Boral Code Talker, and then you can banish it from the grave, and then banish a monster with 3000 attack or higher that is a dark attribute on the field in order to summon a topologic monster from extra deck. So you can summon like Bomber and Zerboros and stuff like that by banishing your opponents. I don't really know, like, there might be, like, your opponent might have a Bomber of his own, so that could definitely allow you to break boards. And obviously against Raziel, this card is broken, so that's the reason why I think it's a solid option overall. And it's really hard to, like, stop this card. You can have a Solemn Judgment and it's still not good enough because the card that you send for cost is what really matters off of this. It's not really just bouncing back a monster to the extra deck. And also the fact that it can't be responded to, like, directly with, you know, the card that you're... Actually, it's just like monster effects overall. It's even better than Metal Chonis. So I think this card, I mean, in that regard. So I think this card is a great option overall, and it does cover a lot of ground for the most part, but it's not a card that you gotta play or gotta side. So yeah, I'm actually gonna correct this to must main or side, but this is not one of them. Spellbound, honestly, just not really good. I mean, it's not good against Malice going second. It's not good against Raziel, Mitsurugi going second. It's only really good against, like, IP trying to link off on your turn, so it's alright against, like, half boards, but that's about it. Change of Heart. Yeah, this one's just not good either, because if you try to... I mean, it's just not... Like, there's infinite cards that are normal spell cards that are always better than this, because now you're targeting a monster so that your opponent can just go Detonator, Self-Destruct, and then Twins of the Eclipse revive back, when you could just be using Ultimate Slayer instead. That is just so much efficient at doing what it's trying to do. So yeah, Change of Heart is just not worth it at all. Soul Release, yeah, this card's way too niche. It's not bad, but it's only good against, like, Fire King. It's not garbage, but actually, no, it's pretty garbage. Yeah, it's pretty garbage, I'm not gonna lie. Cosmic Cyclone, yeah, garbage going second. It's not really gonna get you far. Sphere Mode, garbage. Too niche, by the way, is actually not like, it's definitely going to be a category of its own. There are some cards that I do plan on putting there, because garbage, like, it's just like the cards that if you play them, you are at a serious disadvantage for having them. Regeki, for example, is a card that I consider too niche, but not garbage, because it doesn't have, like, and it's technically playable in Tenpai Dragon, but, you know, it's only, like, Tenpai and, like, the going second decks that can really take advantage of this. Lightning Storm. I don't think this is a card that you absolutely have to main or side, because extra side decks right now are super tight, but this is definitely one of the better ones for sure. If anything, I think Duster is, like, maybe more important than this, so this one I think it kind of is a must, but even then it would probably be at the very bottom of the section. Okay, Typhoon is another card that I think is too niche, even though the card is kind of cool. I mean, it's really good against Blue Eyes, but then again, Blue Eyes is not necessarily the most popular deck. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't play into talent and stuff. Who cares about that? It's really not important. Ash, yeah, this one is a going first card, basically, and also good going second. So the fact that it stops the chummies means that you kind of have to main deck the card. And it's also generically good against pretty much everyone, but it's not really good against Malice. So honestly, Ash is getting a downgrade of this format. And this is gonna sound really weird, but Imperm is no longer a must-play, but rather a solid option overall. So usually it's always like one of the best hand traps right after Ash, but because of the fact that this card has, like, no real, you know, timing against Raziel Mitsurugi, it's kind of a turn-off. They can easily beat Imperm with, like, a 2-card combo, which is really sad. And they can even play, like, they can beat Impulse and Imperm with a 2-card combo. You know, smash the like and subscribe button, and maybe I'll show the combo video real soon. But yeah, Imperm is not really good, and also against Malice, it just feels really awkward. You Imperm the Dormouse, they have, like, 11 extenders or something. It doesn't feel the best. Evenly matched, I mean, it's actually really bad against Raziel Mitsurugi because they can search Great Purification. It's not good against Malice because they make Echo Talker at Ignister to negate it. So honestly, this card doesn't really feel like it has enough good matchups, because realistically, you especially have to deck build for these two decks. And then after that, it's, you know, Mermail that is trying to hand loop you, so you don't really want board breakers against that. And also Memento that is FTKing the crap out of you and also making negates with, like, DS Era and stuff. Nonetheless, not a garbage card, and you can probably make it work because it is good against like some random rogue decks and trap decks and stuff like that. A spell card, Soul Exchange. I think this is the kind of card that's always going to be in the 2 niche section because other than a couple of decks like Ryugi, Flunderies, and the Tribute Summon decks, I can't really think of a single deck that is actively trying to play a card like this. It's just like, you gotta use up your normal summon on a monster that typically doesn't do much of anything because it's a level 7 or higher monster. And those monsters, you know, they're really clogging your hand. You're not really trying to draw them unless you also have that. So it just means that your deck has natural deck building flaws to them, or it means that you're playing a deck that is kind of trying to do those things anyways because you're tribute summoning, or again, maybe because you got Ryugi that just plays a lot of high-level monsters because it's part of your strategy. So that's the reason why I think that this card, it's a broken card, but it's only played in decks that aren't broken. So it's really hard for me to really put it any higher on the list every single time. Triple Tactic Talent, yeah, this is kind of like really close to like one of the best cards in the format. Obviously it's a one-of, so it's like you're even more tempted to play it. But Reizul Mitsurugi and Malice can take full advantage of this because when they're not getting hand-shopped, they're FTKing you. So when they are getting hand-shopped, at least they can still FTK you when they got talent. So going first is broken, but also going second, I mean, it's just a one-of, so you might as well play it. It's not like you risk drawing duplicates. And in the high ceiling decks like Reizul Mitsurugi, you can definitely break boards organically with, you know, your engines and the small board breakers like talent and stuff. Whereas the big board breakers like Forbidden Droplet, these ones help like crazy. And honestly, I think this card is incredibly broken. It's either you gotta play this or like Dark Ruler in your side deck, I feel like, this format. This card significantly helps you into like the Reizul matchups and stuff like that. Against Malice, it's not like terrible. It's not great either, obviously, but yeah, usually you don't really have like a lot of monsters to negate at the same time. The timing for this is also kind of awkward because you preferably want to use it like when you are playing into your opponent's board, not at the very start. It's not like Dark Ruler no more, but I'm actually going to put both in the same kind of section because they're insanely good against Reizul Mitsurugi, and they're both gaining popularity to beat that matchup, but again, you can't really play both at the same time. It kind of doesn't really make too much sense. And also, if you're siding Dark Ruler no more, I'm actually afraid that you may not have enough going first cards because people are typically siding maybe like 9, you know, going second cards against Malice. You know, 3 Lancia, 3 Chaos Hunter, 3 Meows, and then they're siding maybe like 3 going first cards, like 3 Judgment, 3 Strike, whatever. And then they're also maybe siding in like 3 Dark Ruler. In this case, if you main deck 3 Peruia and 3 Fua, you're gonna have to side them out going first. So you would have like 6 cards that you would have to bring in against like Reizul Mitsurugi and stuff, and it's just not gonna work because you're gonna have like 3 Solemns and then 3 Dark Ruler. Whereas with Droplet, you can always side this card in, which is the reason why I think that this card is gonna end up being more popular than Dark Ruler, just because this has more flexibility of being sideable both going first and second. But Dark Ruler, I think, is the more easy to use card because Ame no Murakumo is going to empty out your hand at the speed of light, and with Forbidden Droplet it becomes extremely difficult to break your opponent's board sometimes. But again, with Dark Ruler there's like minimal commitment, so it doesn't really matter too much. Ghost Mourner is garbage. I mean, that's just a no-brainer. Retelling Sea is probably at the very top of 2 niche because it's insanely broken against Memento, and that's it. That's all I can really think of. Obviously it's not bad against like Mitsurugi. You know, they activate Mitsurugi Ritual, you chain Retelling Sea. Like, the cards get banished, they still trigger, the Mitsurugi Ritual also gets banished, but then your opponent summons Ame no Murakumo and then destroys the Retaliating Sea, so it sounds really broken on paper, but honestly, it really isn't against that deck. But against Mitsurugi, Memento, yeah, it definitely is broken. They lose Memento Fusion or Bone Party and whatever Memento monster that they popped or use this fusion material. It hurts like crazy, and also if they summon the Creation King, they can't go Effective Foolish 3 and then Effect Chain, destroy Retelling Sea so that it still goes to the grave. No, you can't. You can only use one effect of Creation King per chain, so you can't send and destroy at the same time. And because of that, I think this card is very good, but also just not worth playing overall because it doesn't cover enough ground. So I think this is like the common trait between all the cards here, whereas the cards in garbage are just not good, period. They're not cards that I would even consider in the slightest. Dark Ruler, yeah, definitely not good. I mean, it's worse than Regeki. Even though there's not even that much of a gap, but nobody's giving you like Ibli Lock and stuff like that. It's just irrelevant. Nibiru, I think this card is a must as a one-of at the very least, because some people might accept the Chummy challenge against you, And if you can draw into the 1 Nibiru, that at least there's something to like punish your opponent for doing so. Because otherwise, like, you're drawing to more Chummies, it just does absolutely nothing. It's really not worth it. And also, if you're playing Rezo Mitsurugi or any deck that can make rank 4s, you can make Galen Granite going first, search Nibiru, and then you're pretty much good from there. You are safe from, you know, Dark Ruler, Droplet, because your interruptions are more layered. So I do think that Nibiru is absolutely worth considering. Like I said, at the very least as a one-off. Anyways, DD Crow, garbage, just not good. Super Poly, yeah, that's also at the very top of 2 niche. You can make it work, actually. It's not completely, you know, unplayable, because against Malice, you can use a bunch of Link monsters to make the World Chalice Guard Dragon Almadork or whatever. That's not even, like, the best option. There's other things that you can do. Obviously, against Rezo Mitsurugi, it's kind of whack, because you're gonna see, like, Detonator, which is a light, Amino Marakumo, which is dark, and then, I don't know, like, maybe, like, an Earth or Wind monster in the form of Galen Granite or Dagusto Emerald on the field. And it doesn't really feel like Super Poly is good enough, because there's no Elder Entity Norden, but when we will have Norden, I think Super Poly is going to be a staple in absolutely everybody's deck list. So I think this card, it's just a matter of time before it becomes like the best, you know, going second card out there. Right now, it's still a solid consideration. I'm not going to scold you too much if you do play it, but honestly, I don't really think I can recommend it all that much, because it just doesn't feel like it's enough to beat Malice, because they're searching trap cards on you, they're searching hair. Their interruptions are super layered. Even if you Super Poly a bunch of monsters away, it's very easy for them to just recover all them back. You know, 1 hair, 1 bestial, 1 GWC is gonna summon White Binder, which then banishes a bunch of monsters from the grave. So every single card is like a soul charge in that deck, which is the reason why even when you blow up everything, the monsters, they all keep coming back every single time after that, which is a huge problem. So yeah, Super Poly not the way to go, unfortunately. Psalms of the Kings is another very niche card, which is good. It's just that it's actually even more niche than, you know, every other Dominus card, because this one, like, you want to play both Dominus cards in order to make it work, and the only decks that I can think of maybe would be like Eldritch and what's the name of that deck? Phantasmal Spiral. There you go. That deck literally uses no monster effects. Yeah, it's maybe not the best, but still, I mean, it's a really cool deck, and I actually think that it's nice to play, you know, 12 hand traps in a trap deck and not get punished for doing so. So that's really nice, but it's not, like, super generic, like I said, or super insane. Murmur of the Forest, I don't even know if, like, the problem is with this card being niche. It's just that it kind of is, because it only really has, like, full value when you can also bounce back a field spell, otherwise it's just the worst Book of Moon. So I think I'm probably gonna put it there. Yeah, it's alright. Oh, spell card Monster Reborn. Yeah, this one's really insane. I think this is like for sure a great option. And I'm actually considering this card myself, because if you are playing like a rank 4 deck and you get Shummied, sometimes you don't want to summon like that extra monster from your hand. Like if you get Peruia, so you can go spell card Monster Reborn, revive back the Chummy, and then, you know, like pretty much give 0 draws to your opponent. So that just obviously gets you closer to your goal, especially if you get like double Peruia. Then there is absolutely no way you're summoning like X and Sword from the hand. That's just not happening. Not giving you like 4 draws. So yeah, this is like the worst application for this card, but sometimes you can revive back like your own monsters before they were trying to get bestialed by your opponent. You can just use this as like an actual Monster Reborn. It can be like the missing level 4 whatever extender for your deck. It can be a way for you to like break your opponent's board against Malice. It's pretty cool when your opponent goes GWC to try to revive back White Binder. You can go, okay, chain spell card Monster Reborn, revive back that White Binder, so that you can banish, like, you can summon back another monster like a Red Ransom, but it's not as oppressive. So I think this card has some pretty cool applications overall, and it's actually really interesting that it special summons and it doesn't, you know, vanishes or anything. Otherwise, it actually would have been worse, because now it actually backfires against Malice. But I think this card is, it's really nice that it has, you know, 2 applications. It's either an actual Monster Reborn or kind of like a Shard Cannon in a way. I don't know, I just feel like this card is well positioned right now, and I do really believe in it. So yeah, very good format for a spell card Monster Reborn. I'm probably gonna make like an in-depth video on just this card real soon. Anyways, Blink Out, yeah, it's not good at all. Castra Fenuir, this one is great going first, but going second, I feel like it's not enough. So it's probably gonna be at the very bottom of this, you know, section, just because if you play, you know, a very simplified game state deck with a bunch of hand traps and board breakers, maybe this card could actually just get you to victory, because in any small, like, in any simplified game state, this card just does way too much on its own. It's completely unmanageable. But when there's like a huge board, this card just doesn't change anything at all. It's not like the other big board breakers or the hand traps that actually prevent the big boards from happening. This one, you just accept everything, and then it's just like, okay, you can banish one monster face down. But against Malice, banishing stuff face down is pretty nice. Bestials are alright. They're not insane. I think they're must mains in just Malice, and that's about it. And everything else is just like whatever. You don't really have to. But you can do like one Magnamut, one Jew's Worm in the main deck for Malice, and then everything else. If you really want to, sure. I mean, those cards are fine. But honestly, I'm just gonna downgrade them to solid option because I really don't think they're that necessary to play overall. This card is trash. Not even gonna bother wasting my time with that. Herald of the Abyss, garbage, obviously. Okay, Artifacia. If you are not side decking this card at the very least at 3, you are actually a psychopath. You are actively trying to lose in Yu-Gi-Oh! And if anything, if you're main decking 3 Lancia, I don't even think you're that crazy because Malice is going to be so incredibly represented at YCS Providence that I can definitely see main decking 3 Lancia as being like a decent meta call. So yeah, this card is obviously your best friend against Malice. It is the best way to like ensure that they're not doing too much because trust me, they can still do something. So that's already problematic, and you really want to shotgun this card on draw phase so that they can't go, okay, chain march here, and then summon it, and then banish something, and then the monster comes back, and then your opponent can easily make a Splash Mage, make a Red Ransom, search the Malice in the mirror, set to the mirror, and then on your turn they can go mirror, negate a monster effect, Red Ransom comes back, banishes the White Rabbit, and then revive back, set the MTB07, and then flip, and then banish a card on your field, search follow-up. No, that would be completely unmanageable. So yeah, you can definitely still lose with Lancia, but it's not like the end of the world. I'd rather have to deal with only 2 disruptions than like 10 disruptions off of their full board, trust me. Anyways, triple tactic thrust. Going second, I low-key think that this card is crap. So no, actually, no, I don't think it's good. I really don't think it's good. Not for going second. I think this is a better going first card. And even then, you might as well just play the Floodgate that you're trying to set instead of playing Thrust into the Floodgate because there's a lot of Dominus Impulses this format. And I really don't want to have to deal with that card, but also to be fair, there's also a lot of chummies. So sometimes Talon can be dead because they can chummy on draw phase, and they can whatever, like, okay, maybe that's like the only example, but whatever. And then with Rust, I don't know, it just, yeah, it's like if you get Impulsed, Impermed, whatever, it might just randomly hurt, but it's really just the fact that this board breaker can get negated, whereas these ones, they can't. So that's like one of the big differences, obviously. Book of Eclipse, yeah, it's not the best. It's also not a card that I can really put in solid option. To be completely fair, I'm also kind of considering downgrading Fenmir here, but yeah, I probably have to. Yeah, it's not, like I said, it's not good enough, but it's not really that the card is niche. It's just that, like, Thrust, for example, I think is niche. Not a lot of decks should really be siding Thrust for going second, or even having Thrust in their side overall. Even though it's not like a bad card, but yeah, Fenmir, whatever. I mean, it's definitely like, yeah, it's like I said, it's not enough. And Book of Eclipse, I mean, this card just gets negated, or you're playing against Malice, which has a bunch of Link monsters, and there's nothing to Book of Eclipse, really. Okay, the Cyframe package, garbage, obviously. Mochi Mifuros, this is probably the best hand trap in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. Yeah, I'd actually rank it even higher than Lancia, even though I think it's Fua going, Fua number 1, Lancia number 2, and then everything else number 3, 4, 5, whatever. Just because this card is so insanely broken that even if it's dead 50% of the time, and when it is live, the other 50% of the time, there's a 33.76% chance that your opponent has the Ash for it. So in theory, this card is useful less than 50% of the time, but when it is useful, it almost makes you just randomly win the game on the spot. And because of that, because of the fact that this card has such a high likelihood of saving your life when you have no business winning, I do think that this card is insanely broken. So yeah, Fua is a big yes for me. Dominus Impulse. Another broken card. This card is complete insanity because it's very good against Malice. It's quite good against Mitsurugi, right? So you can, against Malice, you can negate the White Binder and the effect in the Banished. You can negate GWC. You can use it as a board breaker and as a hand trap. And there are some other things that you can do with Dominus Impulse, like against White Forest. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but you can randomly Dominus Impulse the Diabellstar, the Sin Educator, Diabellstar Vengeance. Because even the effect is like destroy a card on the field, whatever. Obviously, it doesn't feel like it's impulsable, but it also includes an effect where you can special summon an illusion or spellcaster like Tuner Synchro from your extra deck. And just because of that, the whole effect is impulsible, and then your card doesn't die, and your opponent doesn't summon a monster, which would then summon another interruption. So Dominus Impulse is insanity. One of, like, again, one of the best cards. If your deck can play Impulse, it is by default, I think, a good deck. Even Pure Mitsurugi, which I keep, like, crapping on because I think it's, like, worse than Razor Mitsurugi by quite a lot. But if it has one edge over Razor Mitsurugi, obviously the fact that it plays more non-engine, but that doesn't really count because you're also playing, like, less oppressive cards. But it's the fact that you can play Impulse. That's, like, the one big thing that I'll give it to them. And also Faraking can play Impulse, Mermail. Honestly, this card is broken. Whereas, on the other hand, Dominus Spurge, I actually don't even think that this card is great. I think even if your deck can play Dominus Spurge, it's not necessarily a card that you have to play. Honestly, it's not great against Malice because they don't really have to search all that much. Like, this card really acts as a worse Ash sometimes. Yeah, as a worse Ash because it can randomly lock you out of, like, not being able to summon Typhon and stuff like that, which I've already mentioned in the past. I don't know, like, it's, at the same time, it is kind of decent because you can reset it back with Tyrant Dragon, so in Blue Eyes it's cool, and pretty much everything else is kind of whatever. I think it should be here, realistically speaking. Yeah, there is definitely a big gap between these two Dominus cards, and also Psalms of the Kings. Ghost Ogre is an okay card. It's not insane. Against Malice, it's low-key not too bad because everybody kind of has to go into, like, Splash Mage and Haggard Lizardos in order to, like, really pop off with their combo. And when you Ogre Splash Mage or Lizardos, it ends up being way better than, like, Veiler or Imperm. So that's, like, one of the big ways of kind of, like, stopping them, but that still doesn't make the card fantastic. And against Razor Mitsurugi, yeah, this card is kind of shit, I'm not gonna lie. It's actually very easy to play around it if you know that Ghost Ogre is in their hand especially. Sometimes it actually just does nothing, and it's a clean neg one. So yeah, not the way to go. Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. This card is, like, a decent, like, option, low-key. It's just that it's especially good against, like, the Fiendsmith Engine and, like, Razor Detonator or Duo Drive, whatever, which... Whatever, like, Razor Mitsurugi doesn't really rely on one specific thing to win because they have two engines, so that, you know, it's not the end of the world. So I think this card's alright, but it's a little too niche to my liking, unfortunately. Skullmeister is actually trash. Exizon Core is beyond garbage because Abyss Dweller is banned, so I don't really see the appeal. Metal Tronus. Yeah, okay, this one is insane. I'm actually gonna put it at the very, very top of solid option because I don't really think a single deck in the game has to play that card in order to have a chance. By the way, I just want to make it clear that this section is the cards that you have to main or side deck them if you can play them. So honestly, so far I don't really disagree with anything. I just want to, like, reiterate the fact that Droplet and Dark Ruler, I don't really think you have to play both at the same... I mean, I definitely don't think you have to play both at the same time. It's like one or the other, and it really does depend on, like, your siding patterns especially. Your siding patterns and the deck that you're playing, because if it's like an OTK deck, then obviously you're not playing Dark Ruler. But if your deck can, like, break a board and then make, like, an unbreakable board, then Droplet, Dark Ruler could make a lot of sense. Like, Razor Mitsurugi is a good deck at playing a Dark Ruler, and also it's a deck that could lose really hard to Dark Ruler, like I said. Anyways, Ghostbell. Yeah, this card's alright. I also still wouldn't consider it a solid option. A lot of people think that it's still a good card overall, because, you know, you can Ghostbell, Mitsurugi Prayers, and GWC, but realistically, bro, it's not enough, because if you Ghostbell GWC, they might still have hair to, like, banish the White Binder anyway, so that's a nice neg one you got there. This could have been another hand shop instead. And again, Mitsurugi Prayers, like, if they're attributing the Murakumo, and on your own turn, you know, it doesn't matter, because now the Murakumo triggers, so it's like they can beat a Ghostbell anyways when they got Prayers and Murakumo, or they can chain block, so I think Ghostbell is always dog shit. Phantasme is alright. It's another, like, decent consideration. I think it's, like, worse than these cards because, I mean, it's only really good against Malice, and if you're drawn to Chummies, you're gonna feel really stupid. But you could randomly draw into Lancia, so that's really nice. Obviously, the more the merrier. But then again, if you're siding Phantasme, what the hell are you doing? Like, what is your side deck looking like? Are you siding, like, 3 Phantasme, 3 Lancia, 3 Mouse, 3 Chaos Hunter? That's the problem that I have right now in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that it's really hard for me to justify the mid cards when we already have enough broken cards, but we can't play all of them because Malice requires us to, like, dedicate, like, 60% of our side decks to them. Like, we have to play 3 Lancia, otherwise we die. We have to play 3 Meows, which, by the way, is gonna be here. There you go. And then, obviously, Peruia. This is probably a card that you have to main deck, for sure. Peruia, I think, is the second best Mochi to main deck. but it's not really worth side decking. Like if you either main deck the card or you don't play it at all, because if you side deck it, again, with 9 cards for Malice, you're gonna have like nothing for going first, and your patterns are just not really gonna make too much sense. Whereas a card like Meows, for example, this card, I mean, it's broken against Malice. It's always gonna be in there, but it's also gonna randomly overlap for like Memento, and I don't really know if yeah, Far King actually. So you can draw it for a turn, and sometimes it's like it's randomly broken. It can act as a board breaker even. So yeah, this is how I would rank the hand traps, I think. Yeah, makes sense. Maybe Impulse should be higher up, but no, I think the Chummies, they increased your likelihood of winning by such a significant amount. Pancrops is an okay-ish card, but I actually would probably put it there after Ghostbell and Ghost Ogre. I think Ghostbell is like a little better than Ogre, so it's like at the very top of this section, but still not a super great card. Dimension Shifter, yeah, this one is good if you can play it, but then again, it's just a one-of, so I can't really say much about it, and also not really a lot of decks can play it. And also, even if you can main deck it, I would just side deck it instead, because Malice, obviously, don't really care about it. Drool and Logbird. Drool is probably here-ish, because this is like one of your best friends for sure against Raziel Mitsurugi. The problem is that against Malice is going to do nothing, so obviously if you main deck this card, it's not like it really will save you necessarily. But, however, this card actually, if anything, you can even argue that it's probably better than Peruia, because if you go first and you draw Drool, you're good to go, whereas if you go first and you draw Peruia, it's kind of shitty. So if you play like Fua, Peruia, and the Drool, you might have a lot of conflicting as well, and a lot of dead cards, especially if you draw like both of these. It's so bad. But yeah, if you're going second, then all of a sudden it's great. But if you're going second and you have like all these 3 cards, it just feels a little awkward, but it's not really the end of the world. Anyways, anti-magic arrows, yeah, this one's like definitely too niche, but it's actually really good in Mermail, so I would probably just keep it in there. Enemy controller, yeah, that's not really good. It's not garbage. Like, it's good in Life to Win, actually. Like, you get impermed on your normal summon, you chain enemy controller, steal something, and then hopefully you get negated. Actually, yeah, that's kind of awkward, because now you control a monster, so it doesn't actually special from deck. Chaos Hunter, yeah, this is worse than Meows, but then again, to be fair, I think Chaos Hunter is like, out of all the must-plays, it's probably one of the worst ones, but it's still like a better must-play than, you know, Talent, Nibiru, and all these cards, because again, anything that is good against Malice, we take those, because Malice is a problem right now. Effect Veiler is trash. It's probably here, or here. Yeah, maybe here. No, actually, it's really bad. It's really bad. It's bad against Malice. It's bad against Raziel Mitsurugi. Like, the fact that Blue Eyes can easily surge this is irrelevant because it's such a low-impact, weak quality hand shop. I'm not a big fan. And Lava Golem, obviously, is utter garbage because, yeah, again, I rather hand shop my opponent and use the Lingering card. So, again, that's like the big thing that you can notice here. Hand shops that double down as board breakers, such as Dominus Impulse, Ash, so that you can stop the Chummies. You can Ash MTPO7 on your own turn. Chaos Hunter can also be a board breaker, like, you know, you draw it for a turn. You play into your opponent's board, and then you summon Chaos Hunter, and then, like, all of a sudden, you shut down MTPO7, Hearts of Cryptor, and stuff like that. That's really nice. You know, the Chummies, they're lingering just like Droll, so that's really cool. Same thing with Lancia. So basically, all the best hand shops in the game, that's what they have in common. That's always, you know, kind of like the same thing. I feel like this is going to be a trend for, like, the next couple of years now. And Shifter was always there as well. It's just that now Shifter is just a one-of, and, like, that can be played in pretty much only one deck, and it's the most popular deck, so I don't really think it makes too much sense to play Shifter right now. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this tier list of the best going second cards in Yu-Gi Mons. You guys let me know how you feel about it in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.